Well, Trinidad and Tobago, this is the 7 o'clock hour, and we are with UTALK, provocative talk with a difference. And with me, I have a guest, a very special guest in green, wearing his green colors, Mr. Sunil Ramjit Singh, alderman at the Kuva Tabaki Talpower Regional Corporation. But today he's here in his capacity as
member of the ILP.
A member of the ILP. Yes. And I mean, what position do you hold?
At the moment, I don't hold any executive position.
You don't hold an executive position. But we're having a consultation today, so the callers can call in and give their views as to what direction they wish the country to go in, specifically probably by ministry or in a general fashion. What exactly, is this a national consultation? I know we've had this twice before, but is this going on a national scale? Are we having public meetings and whatnot?
Well, first of all, morning, Nigel. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Sunil.
Good morning to all our listeners on your 97.5. And I also want to say also on the internet, because this is a station that's available on the internet.
Yes, we are.
All right. Yes, for the last 2 weeks or so, what we've been trying to do really is we've been trying to initiate a discussion really with the national population on matters that they think are important to them. For example, we all live in this society. We are looking at a government that a lot of people had a lot of faith and put a lot of energies into getting that government in the power. If you talk to the people out there, there's a lot of dissatisfaction. And, one of the things that this goes back to is really what would have been your expectations? All right, what would have been your expectations when trying to decide 4 years or so ago, right, what to do? Because, there are... In this country, you have what may be termed traditional bases, Nigel. You have traditional bases, and then we always hear people talking about this on-defense swing vote and so on, that they say it holds the balance to the election and what have you. So therefore, I mean, those persons obviously, they have certain things that they look for. All right?
Performance.
Right, well, performance being one of them. Some people may say integrity. And integrity in personal life and personal conduct, whatever it is. And then some people, they have a vision and they look to see who's pursuing that vision. All right, and therefore, there are a number of things we're trying to accomplish really through what we've initiated over the last 2 weeks or so. And this is still something that's being refined in terms of the format.
Right.
But what we're really hoping to do is to hear from people. What are the things they like taking place in society? What are the things they don't like? What are the things they think are necessary for us to be where we need to be as a country?
Right. Well, so this morning we had a caller from Marabella, and he's a retired principal, 10 years retired, and he said he's having difficulty specifically getting aid, getting support, because he says his principal pension really not cutting the mark. However, he lives in Gopal lands. He has a medical condition. He is capable of driving, and if he certainly on pain medication and whatnot. And he cannot seem to get a response from the government as specifically why he's not getting further assistance outside his pension. He's had some bad experiences, certainly with the interviewers, and they said, "Well, you look like you're good," and he said, "Well, some days you're good, some days you're bad, and sometimes you're not." And he's definitely having a problem. Certainly that he doesn't know where the bar is. He doesn't know that he's functional at a certain capacity, but he believes he needs support outside of that. And he's looking for that support, and he can't seem to find anyone. He said he's tried the MP's office for Glen Ramadhan Singh, that's Carney Central. He said he's tried administrative people. He has been interviewed on numerous occasions, but he's not getting a response. Basically what they're saying is, you seem to be capable, you have a pension, and we're not going to give you any more money.
Right. Now, there are two things in what you mentioned there. Part of what you said there, I attempted to tackle that last week.
Right.
And I was making the point last week, just to bring you up, that what we have to do is we have to design government systems in such a way that no matter who is in power or what have you, right, that the systems work. Right?
Water.
So I was making the point that that people, water, for example.
Electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Basic utilities.
Drains, right? Housing. Because I was making the point last week, Nigel, that you have a situation where there was an allegation made against one of the ministers, right?
You mean last night on TV6?
No, not last night.
Okay.
Not last night. This is when I was here last week, right? I was making the point that a woman had accused Dr. Ramadas Singh of certain things, right? And I was saying, if you take the personalities out of it, forget whether it's a UNC member of parliament and minister, or it may have been a PNM or somebody else, right? Take away the party colors from it and look at it. Because is it that we have a situation now where just to get basic things that people need, shelter is something that's basic to people's needs, right? Utilities, as you mentioned, water, electricity, jobs, right? Is it that we're creating a society where you basically have, where you have to go to the politicians to get whatever you want, and then sometimes perhaps be made to do things that you ought not to have been made to do?
Well, my social and political work, I have lots of examples of that. There's one down in just opposite the Prime Minister's MP's office in Siparia. They had a situation. They had filled out the application, they had done the work, they had done the wiring to get electricity, and they were not getting a certificate of comfort.
Right.
And TNTAC said they were not going to give them electricity without a certificate of comfort. They went to get the certificate of comfort, and they were not going to give it to them. And basically what had happened was they had been promised it before, and they had gone to see the MP, which was Kamala Pasabi Sesser. They had gotten pushed away. So protest starts, and quite amazingly, the councillor, Shanti Budram, showed up, and all the paperwork was done, and it was fast-tracked through. And what they realized was that the reason they weren't getting the certificate of comfort is because they weren't issuing any to anybody. Now, the situation had reached a point where they had met the requirement for the certificate of comfort, but the agency was just not giving it out. So the protest action then kicks in. So, I mean, they were in a process. Then the other one was that the wiring had to be certified, and it's certified by TNTAC for 3 months. So if you're in the process of paperwork now, 3 months lapse, and you have to go back and recertify.
You have
to go back to TNTAC and recertify. So they're now having this back and forth system that they couldn't get one piece of paper from one document, from one government agency, going back to recertify with another government agency, and doing this for 3 or 4 times. It took them a year. And that was just one of the basic problems that they had regarding that. The same thing with this, our friend from Marabella. We are having social services, and we're not having a tiered system that, okay, you must be completely crippled and incapable of doing anything in order to get a state grant for disability. But if you're partially functional, then you are not allowed these disability state grants. So we're having tiers of people that are disabled partially and completely, but only the complete people are getting the grants.
Now, you touched on a very interesting point that I have been looking at that particular issue the same way you have for the past couple of weeks, because a number of persons have come to the ILP over the last period of time, and then even before that, from the days when we were all part of the opposition and what have you. People would come to Mr. Warner, and they would come to other members of the party as well, right? And because we are activists, right? They come, as you say, they come and they talk to us. And I noticed that a lot of people, a lot of elderly people would come to us, right? And they would have a situation where they would have worked all of their life. They may have built a modest, let's say, on an average, it's a modest,
nest egg.
Less than modest
nest egg
and a home and what have you, right? They reach a stage now where they're no longer able to work, right? So they're at the so-called pensionable age, right? They may be benefiting from an NIS. They may have a small pension somewhere from the previous job or what have you that they're collecting, right? But once it goes over, I think it's $3,000, am I in Nigeria?
There's a ceiling of 4,000 or 5, yeah.
Right, but whatever it is, right? But remember now how the pension, so-called pension grant system, slash grant, right? How that works is there's a ceiling, and whatever you fall, if they agree to give it to you, because you have to qualify, right? If they agree to give it to you, then what they're going to do is they're going to take out what they say that you're already bringing in as an income, right? And now they're going to offer to pay the difference. Now when they come now, they check to see who's living in the house with you, if they're working, what's their age, and all these kind of things. And then they say now that they're going based on the income of the house, not on your income. But you know with things being the way they are in the country today, for example, you may be living with your parents, but you're barely making ends meet for yourself because you may be, for example, trying to study and get a degree or what have you. Or you may have your own commitments. Sometimes you may have a family who's living with another family because they cannot yet afford to go out on their own, right? And then when you reach a certain age, remember, sometimes your medical bills, your doctor visits and what have you, things, those things get very costly on you, right? And a lot of people are coming in that situation. There's a guy who contacted us some time ago. He's living in Chin Chin. Now this is a guy. His situation, right? His situation is that he was living abroad for a period of time. He's a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. Living abroad for a little while, right? Whatever circumstances happened, he ended back up in Trinidad, but he ended up with limited resources. Now there's a guy who's pretty advanced in age. So in terms of the skills and training and what have you that he had, it is really not so marketable and relevant to the industry related to his field today.
He can't find a job.
Right, so he can't find a job. And he's in a situation now where money run out. They tell him he doesn't qualify for a government pension. He doesn't qualify for anything else. He's been renting. He can't afford to pay his rent. And he called the other day, and the guy, I felt really sorry to see, that somebody who was such an ambitious person, maybe he may have made a decision or two, that didn't go his way in his business dealings. But here he is, and Nigel, this guy just doesn't know what to do, where to turn, where to go from here. And there are many, many, many people like that. So then when we start to talk about what kind of society or what kind of country do we want to live in, you start to hear things about people compare other countries. For example, there are countries where the school buses pass and they pick up every child in front of their home, right? The
Yes.
books and so on are provided and what have you. Everything is there, right? So they have systems in place, right? And everything functions well. You have other countries where they have systems to take care of the road verges and what have you, and always have it clean and so on. And we always tend to talk about what's wrong, and sometimes we don't really spend enough time thinking about what it should be.
I think we have agencies here to do everything that they're supposed to do. The PTSC is there to provide bus service, and I mean the Transport Ministry, and the Works and Transport have drainage division. And we found out the other day, someone called in here, there was bees on a light pole, and he said he was calling TNTAC, and TNTAC was not responding. And I said, well, the option either was the local government or the zoo. And one of our callers called in and said the Ministry of Agriculture has an area.
I was not going to tell you.
Right.
Apiaries unit.
Apiaries unit. So I had no idea. So, and they were the ones that apparently that. So the agencies are out there to be done, but there's certainly no awareness of what's going on. And I mean, this person was in great distress with these bees on his thing, because children are walking up and down the road passing it. So I mean, I hope he's found some remedy for that. But I didn't know that agency existed. So I mean, definitely the public relations system, I mean, of the government in general, not just Patrick Manning or Cameron Prasad besides his administration, doesn't seem to advertise or have a public awareness campaign for some of these divisions. All I've been seeing for the past 3 or 4 years is this Africanized snail in Digomat, and that is now an offense to, is a reportable offense. But I mean, what exactly, do you do to fix the situation? Because sometimes you go searching on the internet for information,
and you can't find it because every time a minister changes,
they change
the website
too. So I mean, what exactly are we supposed to do?
Well, and that's why we're doing this consultation. We're talking to the public, and we're really hoping that persons can tell us what are some of the things that they would like to see. How I think we can approach the question: what's the kind of society you would like Trinidad and Tobago to be, the kind of place, and then let's say what are the building blocks to create in that society. Right? I think you have a call?
We just missed one call there, but I mean, there's so many things we can talk about.
Persons can call back, and let me just give you the numbers again. 636-7547, 489-1067. And we have a call?
Yeah, we'll take this call. Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hi, morning guys.
Morning and welcome.
I have a question. The question is, what are the IFC plans to do if they ever get into government pertaining to the NIS payments and the old age pension? You know, we are in a position right now where if you are getting $3,000 from NIS, you cannot get the $3,000 from the old age pension because some method of the government aspect hasn't been corrected yet. So I want to know what is the plan if ever you guys get into office. What are you going to do for the older people? Because I am seeing that the old people in Trinidad will not support the government in the next election because of this. I call it a robbing or thieving of the old age pension from the older people. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much, caller. What I can tell you, caller, and you're right. In fact, I think you identified with some of the scenarios that Nigel and I that we were discussing on this matter. What we are looking at with the ILP policies really is that everyone, especially the vulnerable, must be able to live at a reasonable and comfortable standard. Right? So what we are doing, there are several proposals and several models that persons have submitted to us. Right? And what we're doing is we're going through each one of those very carefully to try to determine what we can do to improve on the situation. But not only just to improve on the situation, Nigel, what we have to do is we have to make sure that persons as the ones you have described and I have described and the caller himself described are not left in the gap. So caller, what I can tell you is that we are exploring, there are a number of things that have been proposed to us. However, to give you a specific answer at this moment, and so we're going to do X, Y, and Z, it would be a bit premature because some of those, the way those proposals have been presented to us, right, they seem to be very credible, but we're double checking the information. We don't want to end up in a situation like the partnership ended up very early into its term, remember? When it was published that every person over the age of, what was it, Nigel, 60?
Yes, 60.
They said that every person over the age of 60 would have gotten a guaranteed pension of $3,000, right? And then afterwards you started to hear, oh, well, it's going to be, they're going to top you up to 3,000. As he said, if you have an NIS, they're going to add you on. No, we are looking at the problem just as we have discussed it, as the caller has mentioned. We're looking at it from that perspective. There are a number of things, but we want to flesh it out before we make a premature situation. But our view really is that we shouldn't be leaving anyone to be in a vulnerable and helpless situation, right? Because that's a real problem. There are hundreds and thousands of persons out there who are in the same situation.
And they're just frustrated.
Yeah.
They're frustrated because when they go to the public office, the information services, they're not there. They're not there to be told, okay, well, you're in the wrong place, go somewhere else, you know, and this is the situation. But I mean, what about general marketing and inflation? Because I mean, every year you're begging and begging and begging for the budget and hoping that you're going to get an increase. But it doesn't seem to happen. And of course, the inflation is not a budgetary thing. It just happens.
But you know something? If we go back, Nigel, and you were pretty close with the UNC, as was I, right?
Regrettably.
I don't want to keep reminding you. But listen, no, but the thing is, right, you will remember some of the discussions that we used to have in those days, right? We talked about, when we talked about even to what the PNM was doing. Do you recall that there was one time when they were saying that the economy was being overheated as a result of the amount of money that the government itself was pumping into the system? Remember they were saying that is not how you run an economy. They were saying that what you have to do is you have to create the environment where the public participates in the economy, right? And if you just keep doling out money, what you're going to have is overheating and you're going to have widespread corruption.
Yes.
Right? And that's what they said under the PNM.
I remember that, yeah.
And now, even more and more and more money is being just shelled out by the government. Now, there are two things that you need to do. One of the things that you need to do is that, yes, you have to sort of give the CPR to the
business community,
the economy and the business community. You have to create an environment. But the other thing is, you have to find ways to make the cost of living go down. Because if, let's say, you're existing, Nigeria, you're existing for the month on a $3,000, right? And if the rule is that if I give you more money, it's going to overheat the cost of everything. If you earn $3,000 and I give you another $1,000, how is that going to benefit you when everything else goes up? It's the same argument people make when they talk about low-end food prices and cutting the VAT and what have you. Is that what they say? The government says they're going to cut the VAT, or they're going to cut an import duty or what have you, and then they say, oh, the price is going to come down, and then 2 months down the road, the prices go even higher than it would, perhaps if it was left on its own. So you have to bring on the cost of goods and services.
Well, either that, or you have to maintain the working population at a living wage.
At a living wage.
And we don't have that in this country. We can't determine what a living wage is. And what we do is we survive from paycheck to paycheck, and you borrow money from the neighbor, and you hope you hit a playway mark to get you through the day.
And there are too many people who are living literally paycheck to paycheck, month to month. And you know how depressing that must be to know that when you're done work, sometimes you even pay out all the bills and the money done.
Well, this administration, I mean, I know we're not supposed to be bad talking, but it started off on a wrong foot right away. They read a budget and there was no minimum wage increase. And I mean, after massive outcries, I saw Facebook and social media came out, we got $350 more. But then the following budget came, and the following budget came, and then this budget will come. Well, I expect a big goodie this year for minimum wage workers.
The goodies have started, and I was up in Paro yesterday, and I saw some goodies being shared.
Well, I expect the budget.
Contractor.
Yeah, I expect the budget to be issuing out some goodies for minimum wage workers this year. But I mean, what fundamentally is that, I remember when it was implemented by a previous administration, it was established. The following year they got $1. They got $1 the year after. So they did something to keep up with inflation. And I mean, it was 10% one year, but of course, if it's $1 the next year, it's 9%, and then it's 8% the following year. So I mean, your increase is not actually keeping up to the state. But
no, it's not keeping up to the rate of inflation.
But I mean, $1 is something that the business community could have absorbed. So I mean, it was a payoff.
No, we assuming, Well, because that's the point we're making, you know. If you raise it, the business community could absorb it, right? The business community could absorb it, you know. They could absorb it by passing it on to us. So that is not really the solution as such.
Yeah, but I mean, show on the other foot now. If the price of bread goes from $11.50 to $13.50 over the same period of time, I mean, certainly you got to give these people their $1. I mean, it's a matter of any basic thing. I mean, in the course of, let's see, from 1995 to now, which is over 19 years, doubles has gone from $1 to $3 and $3.50. And some places I've seen for $4. Okay, for $4. But I mean, you know, the situation there is basically that. Now, if I in 20 years, if I had gone from $1 to $4, that's a 300%.
And imagine the guy who's on a fixed income,
right,
a pension.
Right. So it's a 300% increase, and there has been no 300% increase, I think, in anybody's wages.
So that you see, it's a situation that you have to tackle from a broad point of view.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm leaving it to the economists and whatnot, but let's talk about the health sector now.
Yeah. So before we do that, let's take a caller.
Okay. Good morning, caller. Okay.
I think you have another caller.
I missed that one. But I mean, yesterday was hot and busy with the health sector, because we had a health sector issue that people in San Fernando General were still waiting in chairs and in chairs and waiting rooms. Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Good morning, my brother. I'm from Bangladesh.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Bangladesh.
You know, this is a real good station, and it's a station that, in like a lot of people program and calling program, and it amazes me that people do be calling on a Wednesday. And I ask myself the question, the ILP is not doing a good job in this station because people are leaving the station. One, the ILP have all the members is leaving them. So now I'm just saying, he talked about Covert Corporation last week, and he say make a difference. He alone and one other or two others make a difference.
Caller, thank you very much. We're discussing the topic of how to make a better country.
Caller, do you have an issue?
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you, he's killing this program.
All right, I understand your point, and your point has been made, but my question is, do you have an issue? Because I was just about to ask about the health sector, because yesterday the health issue came up as regards there were people still waiting in the casualty ward for admission into the San Fernando General Hospital, and there were no stretchers, they were sitting in chairs, and that was generally the issue that was being held. So my issue was, how would the ILP sort of like, because my issue is that a basic casualty ward, from the time you admitted, you should get about 75 minutes is maximum before you see a doctor, and then subsequently say another 90 minutes before you're admitted to a ward. So I mean, I don't know if the problem is the number of beds, the number of doctors and nurses or whatnot. So I mean, that was an issue that the ILP could address as to specifically primary health care is your health clinic in your community, but emergency care seems to be faltering within the major general hospitals.
Well, definitely. I mean, a lot has to be done with regard to the health sector, right? And you're right. The thing is, I think everybody wants a situation where, you know, if something happens to you, it happens to a loved one, if it's an emergency scenario, right? If you need an ambulance to get to the health center or casualty department, there should be ambulances available, right? If not, and you have to, if you don't need an ambulance and you want to go in, when you go in, there should be prompt service, right? And we always keep hearing that the problem is the short staffing at the hospitals. We always keep hearing horror stories coming out from the hospitals that there are not enough beds, but yet there's a budget. There's a budget going into the health sector.
The Ministry of Health has a budget.
Has a budget.
Where are they spending it?
Right, and that is something that really needs to be examined in a very comprehensive way, right? Now, the money, you see, because for example, the money could be probably legitimately accounted for, you know.
No, yeah.
Right, because you could have a situation where the administration side of it, it may be top heavy.
Right.
Right, and therefore all the money is going into paying wages to people to run a system that is really non-existent and non-functional.
And after that emergency care, another issue came up that the CT scan machine wasn't working, and somebody else had gone in for a mammogram, and they couldn't. When they got in for a mammogram, it was a scheduled thing. Now that's a preventative measure. And when they asked when it would be available, when it would be fixed, they said they will call. And of course, she never received her call. So I mean, there's basic kind of operations here beyond the emergency and beyond primary health care and whatnot that are not being seen. So I mean, we're all sort of looking for answers, and we want to hear what the public. I mean, throwing money at this situation doesn't seem to be helping, because I mean, the Patrick Manning administration and the Kamala Prasad administration must be throwing money at this situation, but where exactly is the interest? All right, try a call. Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hi guys, I need to call back. I'm just called from Cuba, but the thing I want to say is that a lot of callers have to understand, my friend Nigel and the other guy, that this is a sponsored our program by the IFP, and if people don't want to call into the IFP, sorry for them, because if you look how many government agencies are really sponsor an hour or half an hour in this station, radio like that one. It's very rare you get them to do some sponsoring. So if the IFP is taking an hour on this program to raise their issue, and they are paying for it, they are not doing it free. So people have to understand that, and they could call in and ask the relevant question, whatever, but don't condemn anybody, because you are paying for this particular hour and to raise your issues. Pertaining to the health, can I just say, I want to suggest that anybody, any government who is in office, I think they need to have a consultant in all the major hospitals so that they can make decision on people coming in the hospital, and do not wait. People have to wait for 5 and 6 hours in casualty. Then you have to wait for a bed, then you have to wait to get somebody to do a MIR and all this kind of medical tools. But they need to better the facilities in the health sector, because how many people in Trinidad getting part of this oil revenue what we getting from our country? You know, a lot of people must understand that, and the government today, or whosoever come in, have to make proper arrangements so that people can have better health facilities and rapid response. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Thank you, caller. Now, so I know when the budget is read, it's $60 billion. That's our oil revenues. But 5% of that is dedicated to 2 constituencies in Tobago. Shouldn't we, in constitutional reform and whatnot, shouldn't we command a certain percentage to the health sector? I mean, lock it in, because certainly there's some issues being here, and I certainly want each political party to establish what they think, of a 100% budget, whether it's 60 million or 6 billion. I mean, how much should be allocated to each sector? And I mean, I know it's hard to do that outside of government and whatnot, but obviously the accounting is being ill done.
Nigel, the thing is, I'm not sure if, you use it term loosely, right, locking it in. I understand what you mean. You have a minimum, right?
Tobago is locked in. Tobago must get 5% of the annual budget.
But in terms of setting a minimum, if you go to do that with that ministry, you may have a case for doing it with all the other ministries. And then ministries change from time to time, or what have you. But the thing is, what really needs to be done is that somebody has to sit down and take a comprehensive approach to the health sector, right? Somebody needs to go in and say, listen, what's our vision? As you and I are saying, right? What's our vision? You get sick, if you need an ambulance, you need an ambulance. If you don't need an ambulance and you can get yourself there, when you get there, what is the kind of reception? What's the kind of treatment? I worked in the private sector many years ago. One of my first jobs was in the private sector, right? In the banking industry. And I remember we set a target at that time that no customer coming into the branch must spend more than 10 minutes in the branch for a basic average transaction, right? No telephone must ring more than once, right? So and even today, I try very hard. If you call my phone and my phone is ringing 2-3 times, it means that I'm probably on another call, and that call may be a call that I really can't take the risk of losing the call by putting that person on pause to take your call.
Well, you're talking about work ethic,
right? Well, yes, but you see, your work ethic sometimes it's defined by you as an individual, but there's also something that your employers can have an interaction with you and say, listen, this is the standard we want you to perform at. Let's take another call now.
Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Chaguanas area.
Go ahead, Chaguanas.
Good morning.
Morning. What I want to say, I am a disabled person.
Right.
March gone make me 14 years disabled. And since the 12th, Thursday the 12th of 2012, I applied for a food card. And all now I get in run around still. When I say disabled, right now I'm lying on a couch here. I living on that couch there. But I living in a HDC house. I have a HDC house. I'm paying $1,100 a month mortgage. Is a rent to earn.
Right.
From where I is to the bank to change me $1,500 disability grant. According to the time I stay in the bank, it'll cost me $60 to $100.
Right.
All right. Yeah, go ahead. I thought you had hung up, but go ahead.
All right. What I'm trying to say, I eaten the store the devil grind and make bread, you know. Is that $1,100, $100 to go to the bank, $400 over. Have to run me the money. And anytime I get a personal number for the former minister. And anytime I call, he always busy going to a function. He had to put me on to somebody, and that is it. Run around right through for that 2 years, from 2012 to now. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, caller. I mean, that shows it. I didn't know it was as low as you could get as low as $1,500, and he said $1,100 goes to his HDC house. And I think the ministry has tried in some faculties to do direct deposit, at least with the pension. I hope they expand that over onto the disabled grants. But I mean, there's definitely issues there. If he's having issues getting to and from the bank and whatnot, I think we should definitely look for the ministry to extend direct deposit to the disabled grant.
Well, I just want to tell the caller, if you're able to take down my number, please. Now it's 377-2379. 377-2379. That's my number. All right. And after the show, what you can do is you can text me your number, and I will call you back. Right? Because I have 2 meetings back to back after I leave the show, and I'll be waiting for the first one. But I would like to talk to you a little bit more. But Nigel, it makes the point, right, that something is wrong with the system where you have an individual, he's unable to move around, right, and he is unable to find the means to support himself. And that is the crux of the matter, and it is a matter that needs to be dealt with in a really serious way. All right, so I want to invite the caller. After the show, what you can do, you can text me, right? Text me, and I will call you back because I wanna discuss your situation with you to see if there is anything that we might be able to do as a party to bring some relief to you in some kind of a way. All right? Can we take another call?
Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Yes, I'm calling from Warrenville.
Go ahead, Warrenville.
I have a small problem. I'm a recipient of old age pension, and the checks normally come through the mail. In the building where I reside, there is another pensioner. Last month, my check was not delivered, although the post office says it was. Right? In other words, it probably was stolen. When I approached social welfare in Chaguanas, they told me I have to wait until the 21st before they could do anything. The police says they can't do anything until they get thing from social welfare. I went to Ministry of the Social Welfare people in Port of Spain. When I went to them, of course the person there was extremely cold and unsympathetic, but says that I have to wait for 2 months for the check to go through the system before they could decide whether it was improperly cashed or what happened.
Right.
And my question is, why this long delay? Because I haven't gotten the money, right? And I would like to know what is the reason for such an inordinately long delay?
I actually could tell you, I think 2 months is very short because up to 2012, I was in this station, we had a similar situation, and they were waiting 6 months because they were waiting for the check to actually become stale dated before they reissue the check, or they could trace where the check was going. So I think...
I think, Nigel, I understand the problem that the individual is having. And I agree that, yes, they would want to, having worked in the banking sector, as I said, having worked there, I know that they would want the check to reach the point of being stale dated, right?
Or cashed.
Or to see if it was cashed, right? So that they have to wait a period of time, but they can also issue a stop check notice.
Well, that's what I thought would have been done.
Right? They can issue a stop check notice, but you see, caller, what happens though is, you know that there are so many other institutions apart from commercial banks
that cash
the checks, and therefore there's a possibility that if they do a stop check notice, it may take, you see, for example, if you go to a supermarket, right, or some other place like that, and that person cashes the check for you, it will have to wait until that person deposits it in a commercial bank.
Then to stop the
Then for them to realize, So,
yes.
But there has to be a way, and probably, as Nigel said, caller, and you might agree, probably what they need to do is go the way of the direct deposit.
Well, that is what I have done, but they told me that I applied in January this year, and they told me it will take 4 months, and I couldn't understand why.
Well, I also can't understand why, because, well, caller, thanks very much, right? I also can't understand why. I share your concern, because if you're working for anybody and you want to assign your salary, all you have to do is fill out 2 sheets of paper, take it down to the bank, get it stamped, take it back to the employer, right? And you just do it in a way so that before they make up the accounts to pay. That's it. Sure, can we take another call?
Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hello, morning, Nigel.
Good morning.
And to your guests.
Could you contribute if you're out of the area?
Sure.
Well, yes. No. It's
You can't call him from the West. No, I thought you were taking calls from in your constituency.
It is a national consultation
This
with
is a national thing. So we invited people from throughout the country to participate in this discussion.
All right. I didn't want to be out of time as a young.
Not at all.
No.
Not at
So
all.
welcome.
All right. What I am saying is,
I listen to the disabled guy, and I can't understand why they can't give the disabled the 3,000 just as the old age pensioners. Because, Nigel, I'm your guest. There are a lot of old age pensioners who are getting a pension. I mean, they might have a husband or whatever, and they're getting that pension. I mean, I am drawing the reference from my mother, right? She is getting old age pension, and well, my father is dead now, but when he was alive, but the law says once you reach 65, you get it. And I am saying, if you can give it to old age pensioners, the person like that gentleman who cannot work, because sometimes somebody at 65, 66, 70 working, they still might be employable. But a disabled person who cannot maybe go and work, and look at the cost he's having. I heard another disabled person spoke about the amount of money they have to pay these drivers to take them.
Yes, they have to hire the whole car
Right,
for the whole day.
car, yes. And I find it so unfair, but that is what the person charging them. And I am looking at it, if you could give the old age pensioners that amount, you can give the disabled that same 3,000. I cannot see why they can't get it, because they have an additional cost compared to an old age pensioner who could walk and go to the bank. This is how I look at it. And I don't understand why the government has not stopped grocers, shop owners, all who does be cashing check, because this is why these checks are being stolen. I remember talking to a talk show host on another program who owns a grocery, and I asked him, I said, do you cash pension checks? And he said yes. And I said, why? I said, because this is what is encouraging these things. He said, well, he just tried to accommodate it. Nigel, would you believe months after that same person came back on the radio station and said he had to stop it because he got checks which wasn't belonging to the person, and a whole chalala. He lost out big time. So I am saying the government should stop these groceries from cashing these checks, so these people will have nowhere to go and cash these checks. You all have a blessed day.
Thank you, Paul.
Now there's a flip side, and I understand what the lady is saying. There's a flip side there, because there are some people, I mean the bona fide, honest, legitimate persons, recipients that is, and their nominees, and also those shop owners. There are some people who, they want to help. They see that they're helping, or the person who's in a state of difficulty, but then you have to watch the risk to corruption and abuse, right? And do you recall, Nigel, how some time ago it was said that there were thousands of there was thousands of food cards, right, that were not issued to deserving persons, and they had to be pulled off the system and what have you. Only about a year ago.
Yeah.
Right? And if you imagine how much money, how long did those persons who were not deserving, how did they end up on the list? How long were they there? How much money did they all receive? Having known now that they may have received it by some fraudulent means, how many of them have been pursued?
Probably none.
Probably none. So what you do? You make a press release, you make an announcement, and then it's business as usual. And that system has to change. It has to, because you see, the lady is making a very very valid point. Every time the discussion of whether, first of all, whether the pension should be a mandatory, and caller, forgive me when I talk about a pension, if I omit to say that I'm also talking about the assistance to the disabled and so on, right? Consider it as though I added that into the discussion, because what I'm talking about vulnerable people in vulnerable situation, right? So that the lady is right. I'm saying that you may very well find that there is enough money to do what the lady is suggesting, and every time you bring it up, somebody somewhere just tells you, and they don't really give you an explanation. They don't bring a maths book and say, listen, this is the formula, and this is what it's going to cost, and this is why it can happen. For us to say, well, listen, okay, how much is it going to cost? Is it going to cost $1 billion? Is it going to cost $2 billion? All right, we can't afford to go 3, maybe we could go 25 or something like that, right? And say, well, this is how you work. Somebody comes and they give us an answer and say, no, it's not workable, it's not feasible. But then you hear now of widespread corruption, millions are gone. If you
2 million to soca artists,
right? Yeah, 2 million to soca, and don't tap me. I express our personal opinion. But let me tell you something, Nigel. I mentioned it before, and this might be a good place to stick it in. Yesterday I got a call from persons up in Todd Station Road, up in Caparo. And Todd Station Road links Todd Road, Caparo to Talpa Road. It's a very useful piece of road. Now the road was in a bad condition. It was in a bad condition, and the residents up there, they really needed to get a proper water supply and what have you and so on. And Wasa went in and Wasa, they laid the pipe. Of course, they dug the road, they laid the pipe, and they were covering it up, and that made the road worse and what have you. And Wasa is boasting right now that wherever they dig up a road, they're going to fix it back. Right? But they were doing some paving up there. Right? Now, I remember when Mr. Warner was Minister of Works and Infrastructure and Works and Transport, there was a method to how roads were being paved. Right? Because it's not only since Honorable Ganga Singh become Minister of Water Resources and the Environment. It's not only since he come on the scene, we laying pipe, We have been laying water pipes for a long time now. Right? And in 2010, 2011, 2012, they were laying water pipes. Right? And yes, they were digging up the roads, and yes, they were patching. So what they were saying is that there was supposed to be a coordinated way that they were doing things. Right? There were some areas they go in, they lay the pipe, and while they're laying the pipe, they're working on the drainage and so on. So when they finish, they come and they do one complete paving and they finish. Right? Do you know that there probably is still today paving going on that road? And if you see the condition of that paving, if you see the shoddy workmanship that is going on there, right? They're not even rolling and compacting the asphalt that they're laying properly. Right? There are places that the road has already started to break up. Right? And they are boasting. Now, the road look nice to drive on, And I'm glad for the people that it's not as bad as it used to be. Right?
But do it right.
Do it right. Because you know what's going to happen? I look at that, and if they don't compact that properly, which they haven't compacted properly, and there are areas that they paved 1 week ago that already started to break up, right? You know what's going to happen? In 6 months' time, they will get back to where it was, And then we have to find out how much money they really spent there, and then just say, you know what, all our money went down the drain.
We've been talking to Mrs. Sonora. I'm just saying, please stay with us while I pay some bills here.
Support the morning program that brings our community together.
It's UTALK. Provocative talk with a difference.
Dilmah is unique for its freshness, quality, richness, and flavor. That comes from single origin 100% pure Ceylon tea, the world's finest tea. That makes a world of difference. Once you taste Dilmah, you'll never go back to ordinary tea.
For the tastiest pastries, visit Eat Well Bakery of Diamond Village, San Fernando. While there, also check out Ring B Plastic, manufacturers of rubber slippers, plastic bags, grease-proof paper, and much more. Visit their location in Diamond Village, San Fernando, and just ask for Romel, Ian, or Noel. This is headline news coming from Sunshine Newspaper.
Tongues are wagging as Tobago MP Delmon Baker is accused of indecent assault. A report was made to police. Exposed UNC's secret plan to retain power in 2015 general election. It's all happening now, and you can read all about the underhand wheeling and dealing going on in the party to achieve power by any means necessary. The Dirty Dozen is out and about. Their mission to smear opposition politicians in the 2015 general elections. Mayday! 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 Kamla, your government is on trial. Find out what the most esteemed Justice Emeritus has written on the meltdown of the UNC-led government. Trinidad and Tobago will soon declare, goodbye government. it's time to go. ILP leader Jack Warner, in his editorial, tells the nation why. In the most powerful weekly tabloid in TNT, your newspaper Sunshine. Make sure to get your Sunshine. For your blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, and pregnancy testing, CDAP prescriptions, all pharmaceutical products, and over-the-counter drugs, visit Eddie's Pharmacy Limited off 1135 SS Arien Road in Pinal. Check them out or give them a call on 712-1710, or you can head on down now to Eddie's Pharmacy Limited at 1135 SS Arien Road, Pinal.
Visionary Sounds present Perfect Sunset 2, featuring from Pakistan, melodious pop star Elvis Ellick live in concert. Saturday, April 26th, Naparima Bowl, San Fernando, showtime 6:30 p.m. Admission $100. Tickets available at Perm Sings Sharonas, Eddie's Pharmacy, GM Shopping Plaza Debe, Lakshmi Jewelers, High Street, San Fernando, Lili's Drug Mart, San Fernando, Rana Jewelers, Princess Town, and at the Naparima Bowls.
Hi, this is Elvis Ellick, and I'm looking forward to rock you all on Saturday, 26th of April at Naparima Bowl, San Fernando.
Tune in to UTALK every Wednesday from 7 to 9 a.m. for ILP Speaks National Consultation with the ILP every Wednesday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper.
Your magnificence.
Support the morning program that brings our community together.
It's UTALK, provocative talk with a difference.
And we're back. And Mr. I'm just saying you have some more consultations you want to talk about?
Actually, yes. I just think I should let people know that the Kuva Tabakita Power Regional Corporation is presently having a round of consultations with the Burgess Shorty municipal area. Because what the corporation is in the process of doing is putting together its current strategic plan for the next 3 years. And the last time a strategic plan was done was about 5 years ago, right? And we are still looking at it to see what was accomplished and what wasn't accomplished, and what was in there in the first place, and what should have been and should not have been, and what have you. So that the corporation has this round of consultation that has been going on through the municipality, and I just want to let members of the public know so that they can attend if they wish, and they can make their contributions. Let the corporation and the council know what are the things you think are important, what are the priorities. Let them know too if you're satisfied or dissatisfied with the performance, if you have other comments to make on how things are being done. By all means, I think this is a good forum for this to be communicated, in all fairness, to the present council, right? So the council can take this into account when they're doing their strategic plan. I just want to let people know that today is the 16th, right?
Yes.
April the 16th, tonight, from 6 to 8 p.m. The consultation will be at Whiteland Police Youth Club building, and that's in Whiteland, and some of the areas that will touch will be Piparo, San Pedro, Tabaqui, Gasperlo, Bonaventure, and within that catchment, but it's not limited only to persons from that area, right? On the 22nd of April, consultation will be at Waterloo High School, again, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. That will be for residents, St. Mary's, Carsonfield, Calibre, Macbean, Calcutta, number 3, Perseverance, Waterloo, Brickfield, Korea Village, Chananago to Chase Village, right? So that's April 22nd, Waterloo High School. On the 23rd of April, the consultation will be at Macaulay Community Center, Clarkson Bay, Pointe-a-Pierre, Cartal, Tortuga, surrounding areas. On the 28th, the consultation will be at the Couva Point Desert Chamber of Commerce, or with the Chamber of Commerce actually, sorry. So that's really for the chamber members and perhaps other business persons. And that's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. again. April 29th, there's a consultation session at Couva West Secondary School, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and that's for residents of California, Point Lisas, Cali Bay, Macbean, Calcutta number 3, Brechin Castle, Esperanza, surrounding areas. And on the 1st of May, Caparo RC School, again 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Caparo, Mamoral, Londonville, Talparo, and those surrounding areas. And again, that is an ILP consultation. That is a Kuva Tabaki Talparo Regional Corporation consultation, as the corporation looks at preparing a new strategic plan for the next 3 years. And as a member of the council, I want to urge all burgesses, all residents in respective areas, by all means, do go and have your say. Because if you don't have your say and then they don't do what you expect, right, it'll be unfair for you to complain to or on them afterwards.
They say they don't see the councillors and they don't see the chairman and they don't see their MPs. This is the opportunity to come out and see what they look like.
And I got an email from the secretariat of the council last night, all right, at the corporation. I got an email last night and I laughed because they asked me as an alderman, can I please provide the opening and closing hours for the offices and the days when I'll be seeing people at my office. But aldermen are under the current policy being executed by the current Minister of Local Government and the ministry, right? The minister says we're not entitled to an office and a staff, and we aldermen throughout the country, not just me, but throughout the country, aldermen are not provided with office and staff and what have you.
But you have a desk in the corporation then?
No.
You don't have a desk to work from?
No.
So you don't have a desk, you don't have a phone?
No, well, they have distributed a cell phone.
But a cell phone?
Yeah.
But you don't have a desk?
And a laptop, a cell phone and a laptop.
So you have nowhere to meet people?
No.
Did they provide a conference room or anything at all?
No. No, but what I do is I make myself accessible. I've advised the council, the secretariat, to please give out the number to my phone and give out my email address. Alright? So persons can contact me, and if they need to see me, I will come to them. That's the approach I am taking. I don't know what other men are doing. Right? But that is something, if persons find, for example, that they do not have access to all the members of the council who they should have, that is something that they can bring up in the council. If they think that it's counterproductive to not have these things, by all means, if they want some work to be done in the area, or if they find that what is taking place is not up to the required standard and so on, right? Those are places that they can go and they can do it. But we are here having the ILP Speaks National Consultation Program on U97.5.
And we'll be going on to the 9 o'clock hour. But Studio 2 is signaling they're ready for the news, so give us 1 minute there and we'll go to the news, and we'll be right back with Sunil Ramjit and the ILP's National Consultation.
Support the morning program that brings our community together.
It's UTALK. Provocative talk with a difference.
Tune in to UTALK every Wednesday from 7 to 9 a.m. for ILP Speaks National Consultation with the ILP every Wednesday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper.
It was magnificent.
This is your news update at 8 o'clock on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper. Broadcasting from Cuba in central Trinidad, this newscast is being brought to you by Sheikh Alicia Limited, Rio Claro Construction Company Limited, the School of Higher Education, and Ratan Singh's Tire Services. I am Julian Rampasad Singh, reporting out of the newsroom. Good morning. In the news today, CONCACAF files notice to stop sale of Center of Excellence. The multi-million-dollar Center of Excellence in Macoya was built when ILP leader Jack Warner was CONCACAF president and FIFA vice president. However, the Confederation of North Central American and Caribbean Association Football has filed a suit against Independent Labour Party political leader Jack Warner's Center of Excellence property in Macoya. This move by CONCACAF effectively freezes the ILP leader's ability to dispose of the Center of Excellence, considered to be the crown jewel of Warner's assets. According to sources, the Savit effectively blocks Warner from mortgaging, leasing or selling the Center of Excellence. The shooting death of Dwayne Dash Slocum in St. Barb's on Monday night has brought the murder toll for the year to 129. According to police reports, at about 7 p.m., the 35-year-old man was at his Sandy Street home when residents heard several gunshots. A report was made to the police, and when officers arrived, Slocum was found bleeding on the ground. He was rushed to the Port of Spain General Hospital, where he was announced dead on arrival. P&M Senate members yesterday came out in defense of their colleague, Senator Faris Al-Wari, who is being accused of treason for his possession of leaked reports from the Police Complaints Authority and Police Service on the new Flying Squad unit. The P&M called on government to focus on the content of the report rather than how it came into the public domain. Camille Robinson Regis noted that according to the Treason Act, treason is the crime of betraying one's country or trying to overthrow the government or helping your country's enemies during a time of war, and the penalty for it is death by hanging. She pointed out that the real issue is whether government, having received this report in December, was trying to keep information from the people. The senator had reported received this information in his mailbox. And now for the weather report. Trinidad and Tobago will experience brisk early morning showers which will give way to a breezy day with sunny intervals interrupted by cloudy periods and the odd afternoon shower mainly along hilly areas. Seas slight, waves 1 to 1.5 meters in open waters, near calm in sheltered areas. Today's maximum temperature is 33 degrees Celsius with a minimum temperature of 24 degrees Celsius. Sunset is at 6:16 p.m. Stay tuned for your major newscast coming up at 10 o'clock. Sheikh Leisure Limited of number 44 Southern Main Road, Warrenville in Canoopia, manufacturers and distributors of paper bags, greaseproof paper, garbage bags, plastic bags, vermicelli, split peas powder, and much more. Give them a call at 665-3336 or 672-3313. Sheikh Leisure Limited of number 44 Southern Main Road, Warrenville in Canoopia. Serving its customers for over 60 years, Rattan Singh's Tire Service of Main Road, Montrose, Chagonas. They offer services such as tire vulcanizing, tire retreading, and computerized wheel balancing. Rattan Singh's Tire Service offers quality and reliable service with the most experienced and knowledgeable technicians. Inquire about their special prices on popular brands on new and used tires. Rattan Singh's Tire Service of Main Road, Montrose, Chagonas. Pay them a visit or give them a call at 665-7467 or 665-RIMS. Rattan Singh's Tire Service. Leaders in the tire industry. Rio Claro Construction Company Limited of 64 Rivulet Road, Brechin Castle in California. Specialists in plant equipment installation, industrial maintenance, general construction service, general civil work, equipment rentals, as well as expert designing and building capabilities. With their head office in the heart of the Point Lisas Industrial Estate, they are also suppliers of fully automated greenhouses. For further information, call 679-6521, 679-7500 or visit their website rccl@tsttt.net.tt. Rio Claro Construction Company Limited of 64 Rivulet Road, Brechin Castle in California for quality and reliable service in the construction sector.
Tune in to UTALK every Wednesday from 7 to 9 a.m. for ILP Speaks National Consultation with the ILP every Wednesday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on U97.5 Hot Like Pepper.
Your magnificence.
Support the morning program that brings our community together.
It's UTALK, UTALK, UTALK. Provocative talk with a difference.
And we're back with UTALK, and this is the ILP hour from 7 to 9 on a Wednesday. And we're here with Mr. Sunaram, just saying, Alderman at the Kuva Tabaki Talparo Regional Corporation. That is a mouthful, all right.
Yeah, it's a very large area, you know. It is really really a large area.
The Burgesses is about what, 250,000 people? And you're 15 councillors?
Well, there are 14 councillors, 4 aldermen, right? The last average count, there would have been about 170, estimated
170,000. I think the only one beats you off is Tunapuna Piarco with 250,000 Burgesses.
You know, but listen, you know, we're going to go back into some calls in a little while, Nigel, of course, because we're doing a consultation. We've already had some very good discussion in the last hour about the situation with regard to old age pension, with regard to the vulnerable in society, the disabled and what have you, right? Where you know, persons are saying, listen, they need something more to be done. And I want to agree with the caller, the lady who called just before we took the break at the top of the hour. I want to agree with her that persons with disability, right, they do have an even greater challenge because they have the medical issues, and if it's an elderly person also, they need somebody to care after them. And when you have a family that has somebody who is disabled in the family, it means that somebody in the house can't go out and get a job because that person now has to
stay home and
take care of it.
And there is a facility somewhere in the Ministry of People for a caretaker. I think it's a minimal amount of, it's 40 hours a week.
Well, I know they were doing something through the URP program.
Right.
But I did inquire from people who I know, and I said, but listen, you know, why don't you apply to this program? And I was told that there are some problems with the program, right? But I don't really want to discuss that issue in the context of hearsay.
Right.
So if anybody knows specifically
what's going on
with the program, whether it's working fine or whether there's a problem with it, and if they know what the problem is, I mean, I'd love to hear, you know, what they have to say, right? But surely there's a lot more that needs to be done, and you know, people keep looking at a welfare check, and they keep assuming, oh, everybody just want that little piece of money for themselves, right? But they don't know that sometimes these people are on special diets, right? As the lady rightly pointed out, you know, they if they need to go to the doctor or anywhere else for that matter, and there are people too, they may have a relative or a friend that they want to just go and check, or they may want to go out and get some fresh air and admire the greenery or something like that, right? And they have to hire a car, to take them from home, carry them wherever it is they have to go, and then either the car will drop them and go and come back for them. But depending, if a fella, let's say he's from Rio Claro and he needs to go into Port of Spain, I doubt very much that the car that will carry him will drop him there and go and do something else, really, and make some money or whatever, walk a PH somewhere, if the case may be, and then come back and pick him up when he's ready. No, the car would probably park and wait for him, so you have to pay for the entire rental of that car for more or less the entire day.
But so no, I mean, nice to you for the past hours. I'm going to throw you a curveball here, so no one can say I'm too biased. What is the situation with the Justice D.L. Singh judgment? This administration has, I mean, and its base core is the Caroni workers. Now, Justice D.L. Singh said the Caroni workers' pension plan and visa package should have included acres of land for agriculture and some for residential. And every time the Old Trinidad General Workers Trade Union has a protest or a meeting, last one was December 8th with Mr. Pandey, Mr. Ramesh Lawrence Maraj, and I understand Mr. Warner Stanley in the audience. UNC seems to go insane and starts giving out 300 or 400 deeds and whatnot. But the infrastructure and whatnot is there. I mean, what's the ILP's approach to agriculture as regards certainly the D.L. Singh judgment and the closure of Caroni 1975 limit? Because what's really happening is this judgment was brought out by Ramesh Lawrence Maraj in 2007. And the administration changed, and by the time what they had, Karen Nunes, the sheriff, had given out 500 deeds, and this administration has given out, I think, 1,500 or 1,600 deeds, so we're up to 2,000, leaving about 4,000 or 5,000 people still waiting for both agricultural plots and residential plots. And I mean, this is a judgment passed down by the courts of Trinidad and Tobago, and they are of course still waiting. And this is the core base. This is the core base of the United National Congress. This is how the union was founded and established and moved forward with these people. And I definitely need to have now. We had Mr. Nirvan Maraj, head of the union, here with Ms. Anna Danarine 2 weeks ago. So I mean, we can't seem the accusation has been made squarely that Sir Ratan Rambachan and Ms. Kamala Processor come from the ONR. So they've actually hijacked the ULF and the Ultra General. No, these are accusations that are absolutely out there, and they don't care about carrying workers.
You know, I am not one of those, Nigel, who likes to dwell too much on conspiracy theories. But everything is pointing me in the direction to think that I get the impression that for whatever lands and so on are available to be distributed, I get the feeling that they want to hold on to it. So in the last lap to the election, they will just hand out all the deeds. But because nothing else, and I could be totally wrong. That's why I say I don't like to go down that road of conspiracy theories, but I could be totally wrong. But that seems to me to be the only formula that would make sense for why it is things are not happening the way it's supposed to be happening. Because let me tell you something. This present government, of which the major player is the UNC, without a doubt, was born out of the sugar belt. There's no dispute on that.
And a lot of it falls into Carney Regional Corporation.
Of course, the UNC had reached out beyond the sugar belt base and what have you, and so on, and that's fine. But if that party was started, right, with the sugar base, and for all the injustices that were perpetrated on the workers of Carney, and for all what has happened with the assets of Carney, which is a whole different discussion altogether again, right? For all that has happened, this government had a moral obligation, but they also stated their obligation to stand with the Carney workers and to ensure that they got what was just and due to them. Because at various stages, persons from the present government and the Prime Minister of all people as well would have stood up and said, this is what Carney workers are entitled to do, and this is what they should get, and this and that, and come let me march and what have you.
The MP for Couva South,
of course,
is the former union president. And I mean, I don't know what he's doing sitting down in the administration, allowing this to fester for so long.
Right? Well, the thing is, Carney workers, is the ILP's view that the Carney workers should be justly compensated according to the true terms of what they agreed to in their visa package, right? And if it is that the courts have already sat and determined what is just and due to them, right? Then that obviously, and I think that is what you're saying to me, that way you're asking me, right? If it is that that is in favor of the dialecing judgment, is in favor of those workers, then by all means, abide by the judgment. Abide by the judgment and do what is right and just for those persons, especially since those are the people who put you in power, and they put you in power, one, because you were supposed to have been taking their fight on for the last how many years, right? But you also make personal statements to them. And there can't be no compromise on that. But you know something? How many times, if you look back at what has taken place with the EMBD lands, because EMBD, everybody knows by now I don't think anybody has a doubt that EMBD has always been from inception embroiled in some kind of corruption and malfeasance.
Well, I mean,
because you had a whole EMBD tenure under the PNM, where they went and they bulldozed the land and they started to put down water pipes and roads and what have you. And then at the end of an extensive period of time, no lots were given out. Then you come back again now and you're hearing that the EMBD now and through Ministry of Water Resources and what have you and so on, those agencies, they went back in the land and they said that what the EMBD said they put down, they did not put down. So they're saying in fact somebody said, and this is what was said, right? I know that when Ganga Singh, I think during his tenure at WASA as acting CEO, there's an article somewhere in one of the newspapers where he had said that the work that was done was shoddy and what have you, right? Somebody I heard saying, where you will see the sewer lines sticking up from the ground, right? That they didn't run anything under the ground, you know. That they just stuck some pieces of pipe out to give the impression that if that is so, alright, why have the persons who were supposed to have done that work, why have they not been charged? Why has nobody been charged in any way? No investigation is going on or anything like that. And now you come back now and you're doing over the work, sometimes through different agencies, right? And you're seeing areas where it would look as though the land is prepared, the work is done, and I don't understand what the key back is.
Now, if they give these deeds out closer to the election, in whatever form or fashion, I mean, it's certainly not going to fool the population, because those who have gotten deeds have no infrastructure, and the DL Singh judgment indicates that roads and water supply should be included in certainly in the agriculture and of course then the residential lots, because you cannot grow food without access, and you cannot grow food without irrigation and water. So if they think they're going to give out these deeds in the dying days of the administration for votes and have no infrastructure put in place, and we're going to be begging for another 5 years for infrastructure, I mean, obviously the population is not going to fall for that at this point, because this is a new age. This is not 1975. This is 2015 coming up here.
Nigel, do you recall the Land for the Landless program? Some time ago, they had a big thing.
Oh yeah, I remember
raffle thing.
I remember the lottery and the
500 names,
and the Prime Minister pulled names and everything. It was a big show.
And now you're hearing that nobody got their land.
Well, I haven't heard.
I don't know if anybody got land, but the vast majority of nobody could find the 500 people who got the land.
Well, that's certainly interesting. Will I be seeing that in next week's news?
But people are asking when is the next draw?
Well, that's certainly the next.
If even those 500 people really got their land, when is the next draw? How could you have expedited that first 500 draw, right? About can't expedite, and you raise a good point. Every time somebody goes, particularly on this radio station, and brings up the issue of what's going on with former Carney workers and their entitlements, right? They run and they go and they give out some leases
the day before.
So then maybe that's a recipe. The recipe is that people have to keep talking about it. Maybe on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a 3-month basis, you have a show devoted to extensively going back through all the promises and what have you. Go back through everything, and then maybe little bit by little bit, everybody will get what they ought to get.
Slowly and surely. But I know the union is making plans for definitely a meeting again, because the last one was December 8th, which is about roughly 4 months ago. The attacks came out fast and furious about Mr. Pandey fighting internal elections, and he looking for the Carney workers to support him. But that wasn't the issue. The issue was this administration did not do what they had promised to do for the DL Singh judgment and for the Carney workers.
But you know, Nigel, in a general sense, I just want to make the observation, right, that whenever somebody sets about to have a sensible discussion of some kind on some topic, there will be persons who will come there to derail the discussion. They may not come and set up chairs and make a scene and a ruckus and so on to disturb the meeting and so on, but they get up and they can derail it by simple conversation. They can derail it by just bringing up some unrelated issue and just distract everybody from their focus. But the real focus on the Carney matter has to be, as you rightly pointed, what is going on with abiding by the rulings of the court.
Well, I mean, we have an Attorney General who's a senior counsel, and we have a Prime Minister who's a senior counsel. I mean, they give it to themselves, but I mean, the point is, I mean, there's a judgment out there the government has not abided by.
Sure.
And I mean, who exactly do we appeal to at this point? I mean, what's the next court of appeal to go up?
I can tell you, from everything that I understand, that the issue with the distribution of Carney land and the settlement of this matter is really a political issue. And what it requires is political will. It requires political will because if, for example, let me give you an example, right? If, for example, there is some protests flare up. I'm not promoting protests in any way, right? I'm just using this as an example. There's some sort of an uproar in some area. They rush and they find the resources, and that's a political decision. Because politically, they want to be expedient to fix the problem so the people will stop, acting up. So there are political decisions, and I am sure, I don't know, maybe we should write down the date today, and what we say, save a copy of this program, come back in a couple months' time, and see if it's not true. If they're not going to go enough in the whole frenzy of giving out, so-called deeds and what have you, and leases and what have you, closer to the election.
Well, I mean, the same issue came up December 8th, because the meeting was December 8th in the union, and Mr. Pandey spoke, and the accusation came out that he was out to take back the party, which, I mean, at his age, I don't think he's really up and ready to go.
What did that have to do? What did that have to, because when Mr. Warner showed up there, right, I mean, there were people, obviously, I know there was a round of applause, we saw it on TV and so on. When he walked into the room, there was some applause and what have you. But I am sure that there were persons there who have their own agenda, who would have found, but this is going to mess up what I'm here to do, right? This is going to throw a spoke in the UNC's wheel, and of course they would have wanted to be disruptive as well in some way, subtly as it may be, right? The thing is, what does any of that really have to do with the fact that these persons are entitled to X, Y, and Z from the state as a settlement, and they have not, and the settlement has not been honored?
It's destruction. It's weapons of mass destruction. I mean, the issue fundamentally, the other day was Chandra Sharma and Sasha Singh in the car park, and the issue wasn't about him paying maintenance to a child or anything, or he hitting her, Sasha. It was about Sasha Singh and her photos, selfies going out viral across the internet. They attacked the aggressor, but the fundamental was she wanted to deal with an issue of maintenance for this child and for him to take charge of it. Now, it was a personal issue that became violent, but they started attacking the person. They keep doing that, and I mean, if you go from issue to issue, they start talking about Mr. Kumar Singh when he fights the issue of the highway reroute movement.
And I look at the front page today. Right? Several newspapers. Now, it is baffling to me, right, that it is just by accident that two newspapers happen to secretly, independently, be working on the same story. This is not a case where car run off the road in full view of everybody and run into somebody or something, so therefore all the media rush down. These are basically two investigative pieces. One I think is in the Newsday, one I think is in the Express.
Well, the front page of one of them says
Guardian or somebody, right?
No, the front page of the Express says exclusive.
Right.
And of course, on the other paper has the same exact story. So the story is not
all the same details and what have you, right? So quietly, these two people have been digging, and they both hit gold. They both strike gold in the same night. Right? And and I'm not holding any brief for Mr. Warner in making this statement, because that is Mr. Warner's personal business affairs, and I'm sure there's more to the story than what is reported here, right? But it is a coincidence that these two newspapers.
Well, one newspaper believes it had an exclusive, huh?
And I worked in the Newsday. I worked at CCN. TV6. I also wrote from time to time for the Express. I worked at a number of other media houses in Trinidad, and also in other parts of the Caribbean, right? And sometimes when you're working on an exclusive, sometimes you don't even tell your colleagues in your own newspaper that you are working on because you don't want to get scooped, whether from a newspaper outside or from a colleague inside.
You don't know who the leak is.
Right? Yeah. So I can't believe that these individuals in these two newspapers holding this thing so close to their chest, right? And all of us, and each one of them obtained a copy of the caveat, Each one of them obtained a copy of the caveat. But clearly, there's somebody else. I learned that when I was a journalist. People will come to you and they hand you a bunch of papers, right? And they give you the impression that you alone have it, but you know what? They went to everybody. And they gave everybody at the same time, and they give them the same information, because what they're doing is they are trying to get some publicity. And Mr. Warner has been saying for a while now, right, that there is a concerted effort to smear persons who the government considers to be a threat to them politically. If I'm not mistaken, that might be one of the headlines in this week's Sunshine.
Well, I expected you to bring me a copy today. It's Wednesday.
No, well, I came straight from Chaguanas, and I know they would have got the print yesterday.
Okay.
So that during the course of the day today, if it's not already out, then it's not already on the newsstand. Sunshine will be out today, and a number of stories, as we mentioned before, right? But Mr. Warner has been warning about this. He has been saying that they are out there, and that they intend between now and the election to mount smear campaigns against persons who they consider to be a threat to them.
But fundamentally, I mean, I think in 2015, the audience, the voting base, is no longer going to tolerate most of those things. They're going to say, you have had 5 years, what have you done, and what are you going to do the next 5 years?
And that is the question that we should always be asking. But you can ask other questions, but that's a very important question you must always be asking.
I certainly also curious as towards the integrity of some of these MPs have now fallen into disregard and disgrace with certain issues that I wanted to know who's doing the screening committee in the United National Congress for these candidates.
Let's go back to the topic that we had been talking before we took the break, right?
All right.
Because we were getting a lot of good comments from the population and the callers. We were getting a lot of good comments. Persons were very interested in that topic. When we were talking about what should be done to improve the situation with regard to those who are existing on pension, grants, the disabled community, and so on. So let's take some calls now.
Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning, Chaguanas.
Go right ahead.
Good morning.
I the disabled fella called this morning.
No problem.
I would like to get back that phone number, please.
All right, let me call the number for you again, right? It's 377
Yeah.
2379.
Thank you.
All right, so you just send me a text message after the program, and I will call you. All right, so thank you and have a good day, and I'll talk to you later, hopefully.
And Senator Ramjic Singh, that's your number for specifically for being Mr. Alderman of Kuwait?
That is one of the numbers assigned to me.
Okay, no problem.
Right, so persons can call me. They get me on that number. All right, you have another call?
Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hi, morning. I'm calling from Gasperillo.
Go ahead, Gasperillo.
Mr. Ramjic Singh, I'd like to find out if Mr. Umlala is still actively involved in the ILP, and if the answer is yes, how haven't we been hearing from him about him since the St. Joseph's election?
All right, thank you very much, caller. All right, do we have another caller?
Yes, we do. Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hi, good morning. I'm calling from McBean.
You go ahead, McBean.
Morning, McBean.
Yeah. I have a problem, and I have a slip disc connected to work. Right, and when I'm a pensioner also. But I can't get no other help as I am getting pension. No disability or anything like that. So, and another thing, I have a grandson who was in an accident like 13 months ago. So when it was election time, Contra came and saw him and whatever. They gave him a nurse for 6 months. And after that, he still can't walk, he still can't do anything for himself. They take away the nurse, and now they say, try to get government help. They say he not have the age, and then when he got in the accident, the parents took him to the nursing home. So because he has a request from the nursing home, he can't get no public help, no public assistance. She went a few times to Mr. Ramadan Singh. Mm-hmm. He always seen his constituency people and his friends and family, and she would wait there with this man who can't sit down for long, for hours, and then they would say, well, he can't see nobody else again. And it happened like a few times, and she gave up on everything now. So she took my parents and they're there for a little while. And I don't know what will happen because the doctor said the brain damage is very bad that he might not be able to work anymore. Because he's an accountant.
Is brain damage, you say, right?
Yeah.
Okay, brain damage. All right, that's your contribution, Kola?
But that?
Is that your contribution? You finished, or you have more to add to that?
No, well, I don't know what you could ask him.
Oh no! I was asking you if you have anything more to add. If that was the total of your information for us.
Well,
all right. Nigel,
she can call you at the number is 337.
Yeah, she can call me or text me after the program at 377-2379. 2379, right? 377. You see, Nigel, that's the thing. Somebody ends up in a situation where they are permanently unable to take care of themselves.
And they need someone else.
And they need some help. Now, some persons may be fortunate to have family and friends and other persons. And sometimes having family and friends and other persons around is not really enough, because sometimes you have needs that are of a financial nature, right? You may have medication and you have 100 friends, you know. But what's that going to do except console you if you don't have the medication? You can't afford it. It's not available. What have you? If for example, if you need therapy, and it's not available, how is having support? So that alone is not enough, and we have to find ways to address these situations.
Our issue with the health sector yesterday was brought about by the psychiatric nurses in the psychiatric unit in San Fernando General Hospital walking off the job. That was the story thing. And they said the drugs were not available in the hospital. They were not available from C40. So they're not even supplying the drugs that are on the CDAP program for the hospitals through C40. So we're not even keeping them in stock. And the nurses have came to a frustrated point that they walked off the job.
And you know something?
And that precipitated the conversation yesterday.
You know something? Whenever something goes wrong in the health sector, the first thing, it's like an instinct that people have. They jump on the frontline persons, which would be the nurses and the doctors.
Right.
But sometimes they may be right, but sometimes we don't know everything that is going on inside the institution, inside the system. We don't know. For example, you might see a doctor there, but you don't know if that doctor worked 2 and 3 shifts when he should not have. And then that doctor puts himself out there, or that nurse puts themselves out there when they should be resting or what have you, because they finish work their shift and they should have left. They may be pulling a overtime shift or something to help the system. And then something goes wrong, and then we all want to crucify that person.
Well, in 1994, the health sector was broken up into regional health authorities, Southwest, North Central, and Northwest, and Tobago, and Eastern. And that was supposed to alleviate the problem because everyone would have their own operations and they had a committee to go to. The system has not improved in 20 years.
Well, to start off with that, in all fairness, that RHA system never really, to my recollection, never really got off to a smooth start. There were some issues that impacted on it. You'll recall the UNC was then in government.
Well, it was proposed in 94 by the PNM, and I think it was implemented.
But what had happened is that when the UNC government at that time had tried to implement the system, they ended up with a problem with regard to the PSA, right? Where the issue of union representation came up and the parity of the salaries and so on had come up. Because they were saying, well, listen, I've been working in the system here for 15, 20 years or whatever. What's going to happen to my benefit? Because I'm going to be resigning my job, my full-time job, permanent job with benefit. To go into a contract situation and what have you. That ended up in a big thing. And half of the nurses, I think, had gone across and the other half didn't. So you had institutions where half was under one system, half under the other system. And then from there, the whole thing snowballed. And I mean, if you go into some of the things that are taking place, there are people out there who know what's going on in some of the RHAs. There's all kind of craziness going on. There are a lot of accountability issues. A lot of questions about whether the money spent is being able to bring in the value that's required.
Well, and in one of today's papers, I see the MPAT is having their internal elections for their executive. That's the Medical Professionals Association of Trinidad and Tobago. So there's more of it to go on as there. So, I mean, the medical profession is in trouble. Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hi, morning. I just called to find out about Umlala, and I turned on my radio, so I wasn't get the response.
All right, no problem. All right, thank you. Thank you for calling Gasparilla.
I don't think it's...
Right, can we take a call from anybody who wants to talk about, the issues affecting the elderly, NIS, pensions, the issues affecting the disabled community and what have you?
Any issues in the Kuva Tabiki Talparo Regional Corporation? Any issues regarding drainage and whatnot? I mean, have you seen your councillor? Have you seen your MP?
And of course, this is the national consultation discussion that we're having. Right, where, we're also talking other things, crime, healthcare, issues that impact on the national community.
They can talk about the traffic if they're interested. Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Good morning. Calling from Orange Valley.
Orange Valley.
Good morning.
Yeah, and I would like to give credit to Mr. Jack Warner for that Prisara highway, that he stood up there and he see that it is constructed. And he who opened up how I will put it, he will open up the consultation for that point A highway, because wasn't for he, we wouldn't have that going. He see that everything put in place. So I think Mr. Jack Warner will be a very, very good Prime Minister in this country, because he just meet the people one-to-one. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, there's an endorsement.
Thank you, caller. But again, we're still inviting calls if persons want to discuss, the issues of crime, healthcare, the education system. Not just the education system. Let me tell you something. The education system, again, I was on the internet, I saw some videos again being posted of violence. Children in school uniforms. They are fighting, they are doing all kinds of things inside the classroom even. Right? And I'm asking myself, is it right that during recess and lunch breaks and what have you, or for all we know, it could be during a period when there should have been a class going on and for some reason, legitimate or otherwise, nobody was there, right? But how is it that we're having situations where children are being unsupervised? Is there a policy? Do you remember if there's a policy with regard to having cell phones in school and camera phones and all these things?
I think, it takes on a case-by-case basis as what happened as regards to students. Now, I mean, you're not going to be, you're searching, in North America, they search students for weapons every day when they go to school. But, I don't know if we're going to get to that point here that we're going to be searching for weapons and searching for cell phones. You certainly can't deprive people the access to their issue. But, the supervision is definitely an issue. Where are the MTS guards? Where are the individuals running around? Lunchtime and recess. They're supervised during class time, but during recess and lunchtime, we had a form teacher, and our form teacher used to come and have lunch in the classroom, and there was nothing we could get away with in the class, at least for the Form 1, Form 2, and Form 3. Form 4 and Form 5, we were a little more liberal when we were given our thing, but the form teacher would come to our class and have lunch in the classroom. And there was supervision. There was supervision during class time. And
there were things that were considered contraband when I went to school. And I'll give you an example. If your shoe was black, you couldn't wear white laces with it.
Right.
Or you could not wear a shoe that was not the prescribed color, which would have been black usually, right? There were things that were prohibited. You couldn't bring certain things to school. And if you brought it, there were rules as to how we could use it. So I don't understand what the big issue is. I understand, yes, people, ironically, you're saying, for example, that people want to have their kids having cell phones so that they can know where the kids are and what the kids doing, right?
Right.
Isn't it ironic that what the information and the video and so on being captured by the same cell phones are telling us? They're telling us a different story. But I'm not sure I want to go down the road of discussing whether or not people should allow their kids to have cell phones. But the thing is, what's going on with the supervision in the schools? That's the real issue, The real issue is, okay, you have these kids, sometimes the compound, the school compound is so large. It's large, right? And you may not realistically be able to have a person in every corner to see what's going on. But still, you should not have a situation where kids, because these are minors, they're just free to do what they want. You know, there were instances of students being raped. Yes, some time ago, I recall there was a story. I don't want to call the name of the school, right? I can tell you it off the air what is the name of the school, right? But there was a report by a young girl, right, who had been sexually assaulted at the school by another student while another student videotaped in the school compound.
And I take, most of the court proceedings would not have been aired publicly because, I mean, both victim
no, those are usually closed matters.
Perpetrator are underage, so I mean, they would have had to seal that and thing. But supervision, again, at least, you could say in that case, at least it got reported to the police and it proceeded down,
right.
down criminal
you have the problem with bullying, right? But then you also have the problem with brawling because outside of a lot of schools, you know, one side is ganging up, the other side. You know what this is pointing to, and we all know it, you know. We talk about it, you know, but I don't think people, they talk about it, but I don't think they really understand the concept of how it works. What you're having is you're having gangs operating inside the schools.
Well, I've noticed Gaza and Gully entering the graffiti across Port of Spain. I don't know. I know that refers to two different factions somewhere in the Palestine state, but I mean they're referring to it down here. I don't know if it's a serious matter or if it's just a social joke. They're teaming up on different sides of the classroom and they're picking fights with each other. But I mean, I don't know what's going on. But I mean, it's certainly due for concern because when they go out into the real world, then they will be recruited and they will be, you know, entering into certain gangs and certain operations there.
You know, I was looking at a program. It's a foreign program called Beyond Scared Street. Beyond Scared Street, where they take young people, they take them into the prisons, right, as visitors really. But they put them through a sort of a mock incarceration. Yeah, well, so you get a day of exposure inside of there.
When they bring you into the prison, they strip you, they strip search you, they put you into prison garb.
Well, I don't think they do the strip search and all of that.
Well,
with the minors.
Well, I don't know how far it goes, but I mean they took you through the process of being processed to enter into the prison.
And then you go, you spend a day, and you basically see everything, and then you talk to people and what have you, and so on. And you know, it's for young people, teenagers and what have you. And if anybody looks at that program, they'll realize that one recurring theme in that program is that a lot of those kids who are on the brink of delinquency or already delinquent, is that they are involving themselves in gangs, and a lot of the gang activity that they're doing is really that they're linking up with the gangs in the school and on the streets, and therefore because the Crips is a major criminal organization, right? And there was one guy the thing is he was going around pretending or he claiming to be that he's a member of this gang, and his sister was getting threats. Tell her, listen, tell your brother, stop claiming that he's one of us, right? But he was insisting that he's one of them. But the point is that there seemed to be a link between the inside of the school and the gang on the inside. So the gang had like a UTALK.
They're better organized than some political parties.
Right, and that is what is going on, and it's taking the form here, you know. It's taking the form here, and we need to address that, both from a national security policing point of view, with the community policing and what have you, but also from the Ministry of Education side of it. You know, so I don't know if there are any callers who have a view on this.
But what's our social environment going to do? I mean, I remember we used to have scouts. We used to have a thing. We did work as young people, and you know, there were things to do. There were sporting activities. The PE teacher was always in after school, but we never seemed to quite get the operation. You know.
You know, I remember when Mr. Warner was Minister of National Security. He was making a serious attempt to have. I think the aim was to have 10,000 kids into programs such as the police youth clubs, right? They were forming quite a number of police youth clubs, and they did launch quite a number of them. I haven't heard anything about police youth clubs being launched since Mr. Warner left that ministry, right? There was also some proposals coming forward with regard to some of the other protective services agencies also having youth clubs as well, right? The cadets, you know, they had relaunched or launched actually about 2 or 3 new battalions in an effort to revive or re-energize, as the case may be appropriately, those organizations, right?
The organizations and like cadets, are they regionalized by what, constituency or by local government?
Well, the cadets, what was explained to me is that they have battalions, and a battalion will cover like a region, right? And what they may do, they may group a couple of schools together to create a battalion.
Right.
But once that battalion starts to grow and it reaches a sufficient size, they will consider the option of breaking that one battalion into 2 battalions.
The 2 battalions.
Yeah. Right. So we're still taking calls. 636-7547 489-1067. U97.5 FM, ILP Speaks, our national consultation with the public. You know, we're inviting people, you know, if you have issues with NIS, pension, the elderly, disabled community, crime, healthcare, you know, we would very much like to hear from you. Right? Feel free to call us. And, you know, we continue to discuss some of the issues. But you have a call?
And good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My contribution to NIS and COA next to you. They don't have facilities for the public or the elderly. Could you intervene and see what could be done to that building? They don't have no facilities.
All right. The caller, you're saying there's a facility in Couva that's not being utilized? Okay, I lost her. But I mean,
but she talked about the facilities, right? And let me tell you, I went up to the registry Port of Spain yesterday, and I was amazed at sometimes at the speed of service and what have you. But I looked at the cramped conditions. You're going that first room that you're going to, right? And this is with regard to the registry, right? We'll talk about the NIS situation in a second, right? You go into the room, and there's a small little room there, and the person's attending to you behind a piece of glass, and you have to shout, what is your problem? You have to shout, what is your request, through a hole in the glass, right? And the room is so small that there's literally people on top of people with just a handful of chairs, right? And I think, you know, there must be a more humane way to treat people than to have them in those kind of circumstances, that kind of conditions where because I hear one lady, she put through her papers, and the person on the other side of the glass, the attendant is telling her, you have to come back with the child father. You know,
well,
the child father have to come with you, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the PSA has certainly been arguing about the OSHA conditions, but I mean, and certainly civil servants working in very awkward conditions, and there certainly is no privacy.
But the person raised the question of I heard the call was a little distorted, but I did hear her mention something about facilities and NIS. All right, and if it is that we're talking about the conditions at the office or the way that the service is delivered, and service delivery has to do a lot more with just only the way the person talks to you, you know. It has to do with the conditions in the office. When you go, it has to do with the speed with which you're attended, and so on. You know, and certainly, by all means, all government services and their agencies must be at a decent standard. Think about if you are going to my business place, or I am coming to your business place, as the case may be, what is the kind of service you expect, and that's the kind of service you should be given. You know, let's take a call.
Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Morning. This is one Mr. Hussein calling here.
Go ahead.
Concern the dean. Up to now, the same TNT problem. Concern the
right, caller. Go ahead. You want to elaborate on your problem?
Yeah, could you please tell us a little bit more, explain for those of us who are not familiar with the details of what you're talking about. Caller?
Hello?
Yes, caller.
Yeah, caller. What we're saying is, could you elaborate? Could you explain a little more?
Oh, the bees on the lamppost.
Yeah, from
Did you?
21 Ferry Street in Arangwell.
Right. Did you call the Ministry of Agriculture?
Yeah, call them and the Ministry of Agriculture people come. They say that is not them, that is TNTX.
Oh, okay, so that's TNTX problem.
Yeah, when we call TNTX now, TNTX say when they get some time they will come again. That is the problem with TNTX right now.
All right. What street is it in Arangwes?
21 Ferry Street.
Are the bees still there?
Yes, he said the bees are still there. He said the Ministry of Agriculture said it's not their problem, it's TNTX problem.
All right, caller here, what to do for me, please, right? I'll try to see if I can help you in any way, right? If you could take my number, which is 377-2379. 377-2379, right? Send me a text message after, right? And I'll try and call you back to get some more details. I will see if there is anybody I could talk to sort of get the communication sorted out between whoever, because I could understand, caller, if it is a electricity pole, depending on where on the pole it is and so on, the apiaries unit may say, well, you know what, they don't want to interfere with it because they may risk electrocution or what have you. But there has to be some remedy and recipe and formula for what do you do if bees go on a TNTech pole? It can't be that this one says not we and that one says not them and so on. There must be something that could be done.
Well, that's a very unfortunate situation. I'm surprised that he called the ministry and they said it's not their problem. Good morning, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hi, good morning. Well, actually, I'm from Tilapuna, but I'm in my car.
No problem.
Okay, Tilapuna, welcome.
Okay, what I want to know is, my husband had to sign, before when my mother-in-law was applying for a pension, my husband had to sign a paper stating that he don't support her and he don't give her anything. So he had to sign that paper. Well, he did sign it. But what I want to know is if there's such a something like that goes on, and also my mother don't collect her the 3,000 old age pension she used to collect. She's getting less than that, and because she has house, she doesn't have a business, she has house as a house. So what I would like to know if that is true or if that is something that is supposed to be happening. Thank you.
Okay, caller, what I can tell you that I know is that what they do is they do an assessment, right? And what they do with the assessment is they say, well, okay, they are assessing the household, right? They're looking at the household, right? I think you could disconnect because we have information, right? Because it's just causing feedback. Yeah. What I know, caller, is that they do an assessment and they look at the household, right? And they try to assess what is the total income coming into the household. And then based on that, now they're going to say whether the person qualifies or the person doesn't qualify. All right? My view is that there should not really be, with the amount of money that I see being spent all over the place, I think there must be a formula where you don't have to do this kind of screening. Because you know something? For some people may not really give as much thought as this caller gave into the fact that as she said, her husband had to sign and say he doesn't support his mother, right? But that is the equivalent of a person being forced to disown or to declare that they have disowned, right? Their parent, right?
If I remember correctly, the Prime Minister said for the old age pension, all restrictions will be removed. So once you turn the age of, I think it's 65, you automatically start.
But then what happens, right, is if they put a cap on it, which is what they have done, right?
Well, if you're getting NIS as well, then there's a cap.
So what they have tried to do, it's a sleight of hand, and the PNM were accused of trying to do the same thing, and this is why I have a problem with the present administration, right? What they do is they do a sleight of hand. So they don't come and say that everybody's going to get a pension of X $1,000 and all. what they say, everybody's going to have an income.
Well,
or access, and then, or if they want to complicate it further, they say everybody will have access to an income of so and so and so. So then they bring in people now, like the last caller, right? They will turn around and they say, well, that person's mother has access to an income. It may not be her income, but it's an access to an income.
But I think the litmus test was removed. And you were supposed to get your old age pension without, once you're a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago and you're in the country, you're supposed to get it. What had happened was people were getting NIS, were getting 3,000, and they thought they were going to get another 3,000 from it. And when they went into government, they established that there was this ceiling for government supply of money up to $4,000. So they were getting their NIS, and then the pension was given to them as $1,000 additional.
Right. So that's what happens. What they do is they put a cap on your income.
A ceiling on your income.
You know what's also wrong with that situation? If a person, let's say, decide, well, listen, $4,000 may not, depending on the nature of their illness, and not everybody's situation is the same, right? Depending on the nature of their illness, they may need more than that, right? Depending on the nature.
But even so,
but listen, let me just make the point.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen? If that person decides that they're going to chuck 2-3 root something in the yard and body or something like that, right? And then periodically they'll harvest and sell it and get a little something extra, right? If the inspector passes back, the person who needs field inspections and so on, they pass back and they see you have a little table there or something like that. They turn around now and they say, no, there's a situation that I came across with some people. I think these people are from Kunupia.
Right.
People from Kunupia, right? The young lady, she got married, right? Had a couple of kids with her husband, right? Now her mother-in-law is an elderly person, right? Diabetic, lost, I think, one of her limbs and what have you, and so on. She's an ageable person. She has problems with her health. She has lost a limb, at least one limb, and what have you, and so on. You can imagine the situation I'm talking about. The mother-in-law is over 65, by the way, right? Now, like I said, this young woman, she's about 30, 32 or so, right? Her husband ended up dying. He got sick and he died. So, not having anywhere to go, not having any means, limited means now to see about herself, you know what she did? She ended up being taken in by the mother-in-law. The mother-in-law said, well, listen, bring the children and them, right? I will help you take care of them, right? She's unable to take care of herself. She's unable to take care of the kids, right? The mother-in-law has an issue. You know what was one of the solutions? Because they both applied for assistance, right? But you know what's the problem? The problem is that if they try to live together like that, they're treated as one household. So it's either the check comes in the girl name or the check comes in the mother-in-law name, right? But there's no way that both of them can access it. The only way that both of them will come close to qualifying for any of the social welfare programs is if they were not living in the same place.
So sad to hear that. So I'm afraid we are out of time.
We're out of time.
And this has been UTALK. Bees Hi-Fi is here quickly crunching us behind our neck. So I'll send you off with a song, ladies and gentlemen, and I will be back tomorrow.
Before you play the song, let me just say I want to thank all the callers for calling in. We look forward to being here next week, Wednesday again, with the ILP Speaks national consultation. Right, and we hope that we get some more callers and people can keep their issues in mind.
Mr. Alderman, give us your phone number one last time.
Oh yes, phone number 377-2379. 377-2379.
377-2379. Mr. Sunil Ramjit Singh, Alderman of the Kuva Tabaki Talpara. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the birthday of Harry Mancini, and so we're sending you off with this one.